On the path of life, we all have our own unique destiny. The life of every soul has a heroic probability to manifest into its highest levels of abundance and joy, and to be filled with goodness and divine inspiration. That's why I created Awakening with SHha. And it is my hope to be a guide for you on the journey, bringing powerful tools, helpful wisdom, healing music, and inspirational guests to nourish and bless your journey of awakening. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll be on to our episode. Karyna SHha, the voice of Grandmother Speaks, is an internationally recognized sage, wisdom teacher, and mystic whose award-winning artworks, writings, and choral soundings have culminated in master teachings on awakening and ascending through the heart. Known as Grandmother Alu Shama, Karyna is trained in the spiritual arts as a master Shambhala Byung Tao for over 30 years. She has been honored to share this wisdom and awareness with those ready to acknowledge the gift of who they truly are. Born with a profound gift to peer into the unseen heart of creation, her radiant, sensitive, and loving awareness inspires us to awaken into the grace of presence she calls the heart field of enlightenment. Karyna's passion for mentoring, teaching, and ceremonial performance have manifested in breathtaking, multisensory experiences, merging diverse talents of visionary spiritual arts, transformative teachings, sacred writings, living light songs, with guided meditative transmissions. She offers the opportunity for profound shifts in how we actualize our true nature. Whether it's in a private sitting or a public gathering, those who have been in Karyna's presence have felt the presence of divine grace, welcoming them home to the heart of who they truly are. She is the host and creator of a monthly online gathering through her Divine Pollination community, featuring international guests, pillars of light, who enhance every circle with their expert wisdom and gifts. Karyna is the creator of Soul and Light. Soul, S-O-U-L, Songs of Universal Light, encompassing all of her diverse gifts and talents into heartfelt transmissions of grace in ceremonial circles and concerts, culminating in a dispersal of the cosmic moment, what she calls overlighting. Light, L-I-G-H-T, Lessons in Gathering Higher Truth, incorporates all of her master wisdom teachings with deep transcendent emanations of divine presence, offered in private and public sittings. And it is my pleasure to welcome Karyna to the show. And actually, in this episode, we didn't even know we were recording the podcast. We got together just to meet each other on Zoom for the first time. And we realized, we should just press record and make this the podcast. So you'll see that we join our conversation kind of mid-conversation. Okay, so here we go. Yeah. Okay, so you're telling me about how there was a well in your
your house access water
Well,
from a well and
yeah, like it was an artesian well, but it was more like sump pumps just to keep the water from not flooding. So I was kind of born over this fresh spring. I have a real connection with water and a
me
deep connection,
too.
deep
It,
connection with water. So,
isn't it? Yeah, today when I woke up, I was like, my husband and I are going to take a little trip to Ajijic, Mexico. And there's no, I was like, but there's no ocean. How can I go to a place where there's no ocean or no, water flowing through? And in my sleep, I saw this beautiful, like, aqua, like crystalline flowing waterfall. Like it was flowing from up high all the way down into this through the center of Ajijic. And I was like, well, what's that? And then my higher self's like, well, wherever you go, there's a waterfall because
mm,
you are the water.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, so when I go to Ajijic, like I'm the water that
that's
they're
right. You
showing
bring the
me.
water wherever you
I
bring the
bring the
waterfall wherever you are.
water.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
then and then today I heard this, voice saying, "Remember yourself as water."
Hmm.
And I was just like, "Whoa, that is so beautiful."
Yeah.
And when the it's one of the reasons why like fitting into a linear structure of any kind for me is really challenging because
Mm,
like I'm so mutable,
yeah.
very mutable, and I'm an aquafairy human hybrid, which is like the Andromedan species. They're very, we have two forms. One is like this beautiful, I mean, both forms are very fluid. One is like a bird like that flies through the liquid plasma. And then one is like a fish, angel fish type, you know, water like fish type thing that swims through the rainbow plasma. But it's all really very similar because we're moving through this hydrolase, I think is what it was called by some woman who wrote books about the aquafarian species. And I was like, oh yeah, that's me. And so like being in a place where it's like, oh, you got to like figure out like email lists and click funnels and
Mm.
registration
Yeah,
and
yeah. That's
marketing and
the,
just like,
I know.
oh my gosh,
I
no.
understand.
I,
I totally
I
understand.
so I'm
Yes,
just like, wow.
definitely. So yeah, growing up over this well was beautiful. Or so I like I would say, I said I would leave my body, come out, float around, check on everybody. They're all, and then I would go down to the water, though I'd talk to the water and then get my instructions and then fly off to where school was in the higher realms. And that was like
Hmm.
a nightly practice. I also was capable of like hovering above the land. So when I would come home from school, I wasn't actually touching the ground. I always looked around to see if anybody noticed that I wasn't touching the
Oh, I
ground. But
love it.
nobody ever noticed. No one ever noticed. And then when I met my partner, my beloved, he told me he did the same thing. And he always looked around to see if anybody noticed, and no one noticed
Yeah,
that.
when something is outside the norm of
Yeah,
the cognitive mind, there can
yeah.
be this just complete almost blinder
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
like they can't take it in. Like I think it was like when someone was talking about how the the way that I don't know if it was Christopher Columbus and his men, the way that they succeeded in attacking was because nobody had ever seen a ship. And so here's a ship coming on the ocean, but they don't have in their perceptive brain, they have nothing to receive the image of a ship. So
Right,
they
right. It's not in their
literally,
cognition. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's kind of like
exactly.
levitation, right? Like nobody has the cognizance or the context to to imagine people like not touching the ground. So they just fill it in. It's like just fill in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ground.
it's like I would skip home from school, not and then knowing that I wasn't touching the ground, and it was just an amazing experience
And you're
to have.
looking around like, yeah, are you guys seeing me?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I have my guides all the time, so they always tell me, no, don't say anything about this, don't say anything about that, because
And of course, school was just like major prison for me, but
Oh
I'd always get
man.
my answers for everything from my guides. And then the teachers were like, why are you done before everyone else? And then I would be like, and they'd ask me how I got the answer, like some math questions or whatever. And
Yeah.
we're like, oh, you can't prove it. Okay. But it was just, the whole existence was very strange because I just always knew that they'd say you have to wait until you're such an age where you can come out. And there was just like constant contact. My guide or guardian was called Darely Blue, so I'd always talk to her. Darely Blue, she was blue, ha ha ha. Okay.
Wow, very cool.
Yes, exactly. So Darely was my guide, and she kept me going through really difficult times in my journey. But as I progressed, more information was given to me, and so the knowledge of one of the most powerful experiences that I've had of the ancient creation myth was I'm hovering over water before anything is formed, and I'm dropping these golden seeds into the water. And I'm just hovering over it. There's no idea of a ship
Mm.
or anything like that. And there's just a group of us, and we're just dropping in these seeds, and that's starting the life cycle.
That's what we came from Andromeda, and we put the little light. It was sonoluminescence from my understanding. Like we were seeding the light, but we were seeding the light through sound. That's my understanding of it. Is my
Yeah,
memory of
these were
it?
like little gold um, balls of frequency,
Yep, yep.
and
Very familiar. Yeah.
reaching my point in 2004 when I had first encounter with one of the nine time lords, Quetzalcoatl, who came to me and
Mm.
delivered these three balls, and that's where
Oh yeah.
a lot of the teachings came from in this frequency vibrational field. And so I've just had just the most amazing encounters, amazing experiences. And a lot of my work is to do with sound and voice and heart,
Mhm.
and working with the harmonic heart masters of Shambhala. I'm able to like translate. And my latest post that I put up was working with the Sophianic codes.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
Sophia is like one of my overlays in my field of consciousness, which is always about wisdom.
She's mine too. I
Yeah.
remember I remember when I read the From Dark Madonna to World Soul. I don't know who wrote that book, but I remember reading it and just being like, "Oh wow." And then some of my knowledge, well, probably the biggest part of my esoteric knowledge comes from Lisa Renee. I've been in her community since 2009. And when Lisa talks about, the Christos Sophia and the Sophianic consciousness, I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God, like, and when she talks about the 12th Stargate in Lyra, Aramatena, I just like weep. I just hear the name Aramatena and I'm just like, oh, home. It's like back to the founder, back to the Anahazi first
So
creation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't. They snuck me through this local universe. So I'm not from this local universe. They snuck me in
Ah,
through the gates, and I came through the Orion Gateway into this vibrational field. So I don't know
wow.
where my origins are. I know all I know is that I'm right direct from source. So that's all that I know. And when I
Wow.
had my near death experience, I just went straight to source. And source just said to me, all creation, each being has their own tone. And then I listened to the tones of all of creation, so each being has their own tone, and when you hear that heavenly music, it's all the tones singing simultaneously.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And so now I can hear like the sound of light. So when I first tuned into the rose codes, which was back I think in 2001, I'm trying to remember how far back it went, and it was the sun. And when I was listening to the sun was like a 10 billion choir
Oh,
orchestral
wow.
movement. And then when I would listen to the great Grand Central Sun, it's just like, oh, I'm feeling the voice print of Mother, Father, God, Source. And so one of the reasons why they brought me here is for the sound of light and the clear light that casts no shadow,
Oh, yeah.
to
Wow.
just bring through my voice, or this voice, as I don't even really like to
Yeah.
claim anything. And I remember when I was quite young and I was kind of really mad at God. And his mother, and I just said, how dare you give me all these things? And then I can do this really well, and I can do that really well, and I can do this really well, and I can do that really well. And I said, how dare you give me all these gifts? And I remember just like going like this, talking, and my mother's like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I'm just talking to God right now. And she's like, okay, just have a good conversation. And
Wow, that's an amazing mom. That's awesome. Did
so,
it feel like a burden to have so many diverse
oh, completely. I
gifts?
only
Yeah.
recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, actually was able to lift off that and be much more joyful and fun. Otherwise, it was a really heavy
Mhm.
frequency, because you can see things before they happen, you can feel things before they come. Uh,
Yeah. Wow.
y-
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, like I know when earthquakes are coming, when disasters are coming, floods, you name it. So it's like, okay, so I know that I'm here to witness and uphold space.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the importance for me is to realize that you don't hold space, you uphold spaciousness, you behold space, because holding space is an indication that there is a limitation upon the capacity of how spacious life and creation and all is. So I have nothing against anyone who holds space. That's beautiful, but my path is upholding space and seeing within
Mm.
each being that they already are the perfectly formed frequency of their ideal being. And by witnessing, by beholding and upholding that spaciousness, and the gazing frequency is so important. Witnessing and gazing and abiding in that
Mm.
frequency, rather than um, attempting to try and reveal or unveil, but just being able to just feel so deeply at the core, at the
Mm-hmm.
very purest, immaculate presence in their heart. And the idea of good and evil, bad and good and right and wrong, all these concepts, as it's a part of the human domain. So I've really been in this space of going, okay, so the unfamiliar territory of a human form was the greatest challenge to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I totally relate. I mean, like on a different, it's such a different path. It's different but similar. I had my kind of break with this reality at age 18.
Mm,
And so it's been a 40-year sort of journey outside the parameters of normal 3D consciousness, in kind of this sort of liminal space
yeah.
between the worlds for about
Hmm.
40 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of panic anxiety. It was the
Mm,
onset of my
yeah.
sort of departure from this reality was through agoraphobia, just this massive panic anxiety. And then it took 7 years to kind of start to sort of put myself together after that, right? And then I met my twin flame. I have two of them, but I met one of them, and he catalyzed, like he showed me the entire DNA code, like fully healed. And the two of us together created that emergent property of like that kind of mapped it all out for my DNA, right? And so I took this quantum leap into the full expression of the all that I am. And then of course it's like he was just there to catalyze that. He wasn't going to stay with me. He wasn't going to be with me. He just totally triggered it and then left. And I had to
Mm,
do it all myself. It was like, oh my God, I gotta like
Wow.
make this road of heaven in earth that he's given me into my body as a glimpse, right? So it gave me that map. And oh, that was 1990. And then I took my journey to Portland, Oregon from Los Angeles because I was told, you're not staying here. You're
Mm,
going to Oregon. And my panic was still really bad. I was still like, I want to be at home with my mom. I'm
mm,
not ready. But they said, no, you have to go to Oregon. You have to go. So I got in my car and drove. I was like, no, I don't know where I'm going, but I have to go. And turns out my shaman was was leaving from Montana because he was told there's a woman coming from Los Angeles that you have to work with. It's not an
mm.
option. So he had to sell his practice and his house and everything to come to Portland. And
Wow.
I'm so grateful that he did. It turned out that he had put on a correctional spell onto my body in ancient Lemuria. And he was the only one that could get that thing off because it was so complicated. It's like this super tangled web. And it was like, at first he called it a death spell. When he first saw it, he says, "This is a death spell. And someone else did this to you." And he was getting all this information like this guy in your life that you're having trouble with. He's the one that put this thing on you. But as soon as he went in to take off the first spell point, he realized he did it. And so he was like, okay, tell me what's going on. And then his guide said, this is a correctional spell. Sarah's a veil lifter on planet Earth. To
Mm,
be a veil lifter, she had to abuse power at the highest level. So
mm,
this is a death spell on the torque of the externally addicted DNA, right?
mm,
To make it go back to the internally sourcing God source. Because being a veil lifter, it's like we at the end times when everything's changing, when the mother of life is coming back to reclaim the earth, and we as veil lifters, we take on the collective external Merkaba, the whole thing, as much as we possibly can, and we untangle it and pull it back into the internal Merkaba. And so Sky was there to put the spell on that would start the correctional journey from that really twisted path of greed, which of course was stemmed from lack and pain and
mm.
trauma. And
Right.
so he was there, and in the beginning I had to believe that some enemy did this, but over time I started realizing it was 49 linchpins, I think. And I remember on the 30th linchpin, I was like, this is a gift. This is a gift, what's happening to me. It's horrendous, but my heart is opening. My being is compassionate and humble.
Mhm.
And I went to him and I said, what is going on, Sky? This is a gift, isn't it? And he starts to cry. It was so beautiful. He starts to cry. And I'm like, this is a gift, Sky. And then he says, the story of the person who's like, they have two roads that they can take, and they choose the road that they think is the best road. But by the time they realize it was the wrong road, they've gone so far wrong that you have to destroy the whole road. And he goes,
Mm.
this is the story of you. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. And then he told me this, the whole story. And he said, um, yeah, you realized, you woke up at the age of 40 in that lifetime, and you knew, oh my God, I'm not going to make it to planet Earth. I'm not going to be part of the mission on Earth to awaken because I'm going to be on a dark planet. I got to have what's going to happen. And I just started going, oh my God, please help me. Right. And Sky was actually on his honeymoon in Lyra when he got the distress call. So he wasn't too thrilled. He's like toasting his new wife on the beach. This beautiful, I saw the whole thing in the vision he showed me. And I was like, no, you got to go down to earth. You got to get a body and you got to put this spell on her, and you'll be there to take it off, when
Mm.
it's time to get it off. So that was the that was the big journey to get to Portland, to get to, he was Scott, then not Sky, but, and so we started our work together. And I thought, oh yeah, yeah, well after this thing's off, my life's gonna, it's gonna be easy.
You know,
Let's stop and laugh. Right? I was like 1999, like all the points were done, and I was like, oh my God, 3 years and we've got it, it's all off. And so now I'm gonna have a career, right? I'm gonna know how to live on earth, right? I'm gonna, something's gonna happen, it's gonna get easier. And I was like, no. He put his hand on my solar plexus and he said, I can't do a thing about this. This is yours. And
um,
it's been just underworld journey after underworld journey to bring in this diamond sun DNA. It's been a non-stop, uh, what would you say, like excavation project into the DNA. And it's like, and 3D life never became a priority because I kept thinking, okay, now I've done the work in the underworld. I'm ready to be in 3D. No, not at all. Not at all. It's just like, it's just gotten more and more strange. I kept thinking, okay, now it's going to converge. I'm going to have a normal life, you know. But after 9/11, I guess we would have had a heck of a lot of an easier time if 9/11 hadn't happened. So once 9/11, I thought I was going to have a child. I thought I was going to actually maybe have a job. I thought I was going to, right around that time. And then 9/11 happens in 2001. And it's like, I'm being told, that contingency backpack that we sent with you in case of a worst case scenario? Well, guess what? You're going to have to open that backpack. And it's like, oh my God, okay. So yeah, after 9/11, the workload went up by like, I don't know, so much. As my teacher was saying, okay, by March of 2005, we would have been ascended into 5D. We were going on the planetary stargates. And it would have been done. Would have gone to sleep in 3D and then woken up in 5D. But because we couldn't use the stargates, because the negative aliens shut down all the stargates, because once they harnessed enough fear after 9/11, they had the ability to pull full pole shift. And so the guardians had to shut down the stargate, so we lost our elevator. It's like, oh, guess what? Every one of you is going to become a stargate, because now we're good. This is the long way home.
you're definitely speaking my language with my beloved partner who actually builds sacred geometry stargates. And
Beautiful.
we met in 1991, 92, and we had our son in 1993.
Oh,
We've been
beautiful.
together 33 years.
What a great number. Oh,
Yeah, and he has like, had quite the story of a life, and we have our challenges because we're twin flames, so we kind of drive each other
oh,
crazy.
wow. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, and our son is, finally had his last awakening call, and he's had entanglements with the law and all the kinds of things because he's a great master by
Uh-huh.
coming through Mama's body as she's about to leave the planet and die. So I
Oh,
stayed to come to be there for him, and now he's in his last awakening call. And just having massive shifts. Like when they gave me the message, he will rise up and glorify this world with his greatness. I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to put that into the affirmation fields. And now he's doing that.
beautiful. How old is he?
He is 29. He'll be turning 30 this
Oh,
year.
so he's in his Saturn's return, which is such a powerful time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow.
he's going through some really powerful stuff right now. And, for me coming here and like being allowed to have a body, that I was to have a child, to have a physical life. Um, 3D, I just never saw 3D. It wasn't even here. It didn't even exist.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like your code was already, so fully expanded.
Yeah.
For me, I had to retrieve code. So I was in the underworld all the frickin' time.
Well,
It's just,
I definitely know the underworld experience for sure. And I've had like all of the kinds of surveillance imaginable on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a lot of protection around me. They've kept me really under the radar until they said it would be like 2025 when I would be able to step out more fully. Although
Yeah.
I have had lots of fame and stuff around me, but I retreated from that on numerous occasions because it was just not the right time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but and they managed to sneak me into the United Nations, and I did. I Divine Mother meditation. I was only supposed to be there for 20 minutes. They just put a veil around me, and there was 2.5 hours underneath
Ha!
underneath the General Assembly
Beautiful.
with a group of people. So I got in there, which was good because we were actually able to take all of the satellite discs and direct a beam right through, because they have these satellite discs set up where they do all the for around the world. So we were able to beam the Divine Mother frequency into into that on
Beautiful.
Veterans Day. It was on November 11th, 2014.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love
So
that.
yeah, so that was a really powerful experience for me. There's been so many that have happened, and so
So,
many of them.
yeah. So tell me a bit about like, so you had a near-death experience when you had your son, right? Was that your second or your first or your,
My first was when I was 8.
oh, that's right. You were
My
eight.
second one, yeah, was around, I'm trying to remember now, 28, 29. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had one after my son was born. I had to go in for surgery, and I left and I came back again. So those, and then a couple of years ago, I had what could only be described as a transfiguration, transmutational experience that, was 18 hours in a kind
Oh,
of like fever-like coma experience.
wow.
And I was conscious and aware that I had the choice to leave or to come back. So they put me into what they call the Cathedral of the Soul. And
Oh,
and
that's
I stayed there while all of them, were singing songs into my being. And then
hmm.
I came back, and then I lost 3/4 of my hair. And then it all came back.
Your hair is beautiful. I'm going to turn on my light a little. It's getting so dark over here.
So, yeah.
Wow. So amazing. So,
Yeah,
so what
lots.
triggered that big, coma time? Was there like a crisis that triggered?
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Whew.
So there were supposed to be, so they took me to the Cathedral of the Soul, and I was extremely weak, and fever after fever, and then I came out of that. I was pretty weak. I've had lots of experiences of losing all my capacity to walk, talk, and all that kind of thing, and then come back into a newer, more heightened frequency. That one was really, really challenging. I think I'm still overcoming some of that. Um, and the
Wow,
geo
that's huge. And that wasn't that long ago.
No, no. So the geoengineering frequency that was going on, and I met the code, and I met the vibrational field of it, and I asked what it wanted, what it was attempting to do. And so then I came to realize, oh, this is a gift. This is an absolute gift because this is the wake up that people need.
A world war going to happen now, but I don't know. That's just the placenta falling off as the new baby, is being born. That's how it feels to me. The more
Yeah.
we focus on the beauty of the synergy and the unity and the power of what we're birthing right now, is just so incredible. And the more we focus on feeding that, this placenta just falls off, right? It's like it's done. So this whole biblical territory of Israel and Palestine, and oh my God, the amount of bloodshed over there, and just all the histories of war, and just crazy.
Well, the telluric currents in that area are helping though to birth, and it's a part of the what needs to happen, unfortunately, or fortunately, however anyone wants to look at it. And the souls that are leaving, they volunteer to take a lot of the karma out of that. Anytime when you have these kinds of conflicts that happen,
Yep.
I'm going to be doing something on 11/11 and something on 11/22. I've been told it's 11/11 and
Uh-huh.
11/22. And
Beautiful.
so I wrote something called the Whispering Wisdom. And it was just like the quietude, the calm. This is the place where all the divine creation resides, in that silence and stillness. And it started with the event that I just did on the 20 on the I'm in a time warp, the 22nd.
22nd. Yeah.
Thank you. I just time right now. I was supposed to do that as a live event, but that was the year before. So I decided to do online. I was going to do the 29th, but it didn't come to pass. It wasn't meant to come to pass because it wasn't the right time. So this upcoming 11/11 and 11/22 frequency and vibration, although it's a part of the old paradigm frequency, it's important, and they're just saying to do the wisdom of, I can't even talk right now because there's something coming through. Whispering wisdom. Thank you.
Whispering wisdom.
Wisdom.
I love that. So tell me about the telluric currents over there. I'm curious.
Okay, so the telluric currents are the same thing as what you call ley lines or song lines.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, so the frequency vibration in that area of the world, it's really a part of the ancient old mother, old father frequency, and they're just kind of having their last little squabble in the human realm. And I'm noticing in the twin flame relationships that, like, I've been really having some like hard time with my partner, and I've
Right.
noticed that two or three other relational codes in the human form are having some real challenges. So the frequency of, Arabic or Islamic and the ancient Germanic Jewish traditions, they're really rooted in the father mother frequency, and the determination of like, oh, you're going to step back for a while and allow for the masculine frequency to do its part, and then you're going to come back in. And so they're still battling of the timeline when it's all going to come back into divine mother frequency. But on the
Yeah.
earth current level, it's like, no, it's going to be now. No, 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 not yet. No. And there's this dynamic going on between the two of them. Okay, well, let's get that alignment going. And so we have like this beautiful earth father creation, earth mother creation frequency to bring in the divine mother frequency. And so, we have all these religions that have tuned in to that vibrational field at the same time. And
Right.
so they're having their dynamic of feisty arguments in these telluric currents that are crossing, the River Jordan, crossing that whole
Oh yeah,
the
Temple
valley.
Mount
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
such a huge
Yeah, we
area.
have the temple, the ancient temple building, and all that kind of stuff going on. I just try to step back from it and just be the one that's just listening and bringing in the sound codes.
Yeah.
It's challenging for me at times because I do know of the knowledge of what is unfolding, but I kind of prefer not to necessarily share all of that because it can still be filtered through my human consciousness, and I
That
feel like it's just such a hugely more powerful capacity with.
the best thing we can do for the world is just like sing love into the air, right? And just send it everywhere. And one of my biggest passions is getting people together to
Mhm.
sing together, and um, and just sing the celebration and the communion and the awakening joy. And people are like, well, you gonna sing about awakening joy when you got this massive like pain and suffering going on? And I'm like, yeah, because that's the code that's awakening. That's the birth that's here. Yes, there's death, but there's this beautiful baby. There's this incredible birth. Oh, I love to sing with big groups. I've seen like football stadiums, like singing these simple songs and creating these fields of coherence, just
Hmm.
so much love and heart and synergy that it's just like going out and really activating the crystalline matrix and really bringing this unity logos, like the blueprint, right? The original blueprint of this beautiful earth is this unity blueprint, and like bringing that thing totally online so that the symphony of awakening humanity is just, doing their thing together. And
Yeah.
that's what gets me really excited.
Well, that's what, my partner and I, when we talk about this, we call it harmonic humanity. And so when I created when I created my DVD, opening the libraries of liberation, it was the realization of being able to open up into the scrolls of wisdom where all of the teachings are in our own DNA.
Mhm.
And so like even talking about it, like when I feel like I want to talk about it, the only thing that I really want to do is just sit in the silence and stillness
Yeah.
and let the Immaculate Heart presence come through. And that's what I offer with my events. Like, there's no script, there's no plan. I do have my pillars that surround me when I'm in the body of light, as I'm always in my body of light, and everyone is anyways, even if they don't know it. It doesn't matter. That's what grandmother always says, the same thing. I love all my children equally, especially the naughty ones. Everyone's always invited. Doesn't mean that everyone will come. And she just
Especially the
laughs.
naughty ones.
Yes, they need all the love. They're in such deep states of ignorance. And she says it takes a lot of energy actually to go against your own true divine nature. So she says they're down real deep, so they need all the love. And you're just like, yeah, the distractive ones. She goes, oh yes, the ones that are throwing their toys around in the sandbox and hurting everybody else. And so my reason for being here is to be what is already here, just maybe can't see it just yet or feel it or know it. And
Yeah.
so, the thinking or the intellectualizing of that process, I can do it and I can share it, but when I'm with such
Ooh,
centered and aligned beings, like it's not even necessary to go
no,
into that. It's like it's going to be a really boring podcast. We're just going to be sitting here going,
I don't care. Hey, do you want to do some toning together, like back and forth, sounding?
sure, sure. I've got all my lovely little bowls here.
You got your bowls. I don't know how my sound will pick up my bowl.
It doesn't, it's okay. It's cool.
I love the sound. Korosondoro kotoratana hayana karata sonotoratia.
tare mahene senen. Dai na yeon. Navedameyon. Namam.
Oma, Oma Nasare, Kurumai, 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 Anai, Anai,
Vasunate nakili.
Kutura Sanamaya, Tanaya, Tuturaka.
Savusanete antagevasha. Eredetikimam garaham. Garanam. Garane.
Ore Kamara Tara, Tia Karana, Umra. Oh, my wind chimes just chimed in. Iratana Retiana. Oh. So, what year did you come to this blessed earth?
1961.
Ah, 4 years before me. It's amazing that you got a body that could carry all that code in 61. Wow. Yarana. Yarana. Oh, so this question is coming just to ask you, like, do you do private sessions with people?
I
And
do, yes. Mostly I'm interested in the more long term. I work with beings in mentoring processes. But yes, I do private sessions, public gatherings, online. I did take a few months off this year because there's a huge recalibration happening in my system. And I am now back more fully in the public eye. So it does feel good to be able to be with beings. And I just recently rewrote my credo. And I was hoping I could read it to you because it's
yeah.
just something that came. I don't know if I can actually view here, exit the full screen. Because it just really strikes to me in my heart, like when I found it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So people have asked, what is it? What is my process? My way of being is not to process, which is associated with trying to figure things out. I simply attune with the heart and listen. It can appear to be messy because everything is laid out, showing the entanglements, destabilizing because it shows the dimensions of the experience, uneven because every layer has a different expression and awareness, mindless and exhausting because one has to let go and allow to open to the divine message and meaning hidden in plain sight and sight. Like the blindfolded civil oracle relying on the inner eye to guide the way, and ultimately freeing and liberating, because in its deeper sense it shows themes and archetypes unfolding, but ultimately the mystery of the felt sense arising. The way arrives and shows itself in this state of consciousness. I experience its inception point, which is the manifestation and its intent, before its birth, where it began, how it came to be, what it is here for, and why it persists. What is the lesson it came here to demonstrate? Its life, the embodiment, why it is here in the way that it is, what it is here to teach, how it has fleshed itself into form. What is the message it came here to deliver? Its completion, the divine gift, ultimately the growth that comes from its realization and the letting go, letting God, understanding. What revelation unfolds and what wisdom arrives from the grace that comes. What is the gift inside that it came here to distribute and disperse? The seed of its making and maker, the sowing and the planting of its idea and ideal, and the harvest of its gifts to humanity and all beings. To sit with and feel into the deepest unknowns, to give rise and permission to the primordial depths, the most unfiltered and exalted awareness that purifies and dissolves all divisions within the heart. I don't seek answers or ways to escape the pain of living, nor do I try to figure it out. I let the wisdom of the experience come to me and speak. Even as the gnashing and gnawing make grow for answers now, I let grace empty me out. I allow my vessel, this instrument, this beautiful body of wisdom to release and disperse the pent-up presence. It is beyond the orgasm and organism of physical knowing to a finer, more intimate silence, of thunderous shuddering deep in the caverns of my most immediate and ever-present awareness. Something steadfast and impenetrable that is always here and now, no matter where I wander. It pulls me back and places me fully into this moment of unspoken feeling, some call divine truth. The angelus messengers, the divine guides, guiding muses of my natural power source, the voice of Godmother, the heart of great-grandmother, the pure mind of Godfather, arrives with no fanfare. Light comes and gifts me with droplets of nectar from the inner heart of all being. Just a matter-of-fact dropping of tiny little bomblets imploding in my heart. If I seek it, I'm bereft and weary. If I let go and be still, it comes to me with the shining glory of 1,000 billion suns ablaze. Even now, I'm here sitting and sifting the feeling of the pulse of the universe, whispering songs of new beginnings and the ending of all desolate endings. Now, drama sells really well. It makes for glamorous, clamorous theater. It is the clickbait of the times, but it isn't real. It's a nicely packaged and manicured reality, a lightweight, nutritionally empty meal of illusion. To receive the nurturance and pure substance of substantial presence, a whole meal that keeps feeding unto the holy self, you've got to express the pure intent and blessing of your being. To break bread with the divine, you've got to give grace and express thanks for every moment of naked, awakened living. The raw and rare power of unrefined, unfiltered natural divinity will spark your life force into high-geared awakened nakedness. So here I am sitting and in presence, sharing my expression and experience of being. Several asked, what is my process? And to this I say, it's the complete undoing and unraveling of my outward and inner perception of self, source, and all. It is a listening that sometimes hurts so deeply because it is so powerfully true.
Mm. Wow. Just amazing. Yeah, it's beyond words, to even react. It just it delivers you there where there's no words.
Yeah.
Wow, that is gorgeous and glorious.
I'm extremely blessed to have these muses to deliver words and notes to me that I can pass on into this dimension.
So,
And
so
that brings me great joy to be able to have mastered the power of the written word and the power of sound and song.
yes, I am so grateful for my muses as well. Downloading and downloading and downloading and constantly bringing sound and word. I
Thank you.
remember there's this Lorena McKennitt song, and she says, I think it's called Salmon Sea, which is kind of really appropriate for this time. And she's like, when the moon, or something, when there's something on a moonless night, da 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 da, and then it's and made my lips and music wet, and it was like, oh, the right and left hemispheres in that beautiful sound code, and the words just kind of riding on the sound code, and this wedding that was created. And I'm like, that's one of my favorite lines in any song. It's just like, oh my God, yes, my lips and music. Of course, and lips being from that cerebral cortex that's getting all of the word art of its devotion. It's like that left brain's devotion is in words, and that right brain's devotion is in sound. And when they marry each other, it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
goodness, yeah, so beautiful.
Mm. I was very blessed because she lives in Stratford, Ontario, not too far away.
Ah, so
And
close.
I know, so we were there, and I got to play her harp. I got to meet her, and I knew I could play a harp, but I'd never played one before. And so I started playing the harp, and everybody goes, "Oh, how long have you played the harp?" And I go, "Oh, this is my first time." And they're just like, "Huh?"
Yeah, because you play it in the other dimensions. That's how I was when I first got to a harp. I'm just like, I was like, oh boy, I've done this before.
Yeah, harp, and I always call it the harp of the heart, and the 12 strands, the DNA
Yes, yes,
or the go across the harp of the heart, and we pluck the strands. The 12 strands, like containing 12 strands.
yes,
So on and so on.
yes, yes, yes. And I want to come visit Sean. I'd love to visit you. And yeah,
And you're wearing one of my favorite colors.
really,
I love the peacock green blue color combination.
peacock green, yay,
Yeah.
blue,
I
yeah.
was gonna wear that tonight, and then grandmother said, "No, you need to wear this." And I'm like, "Okay, fine."
I love your colors. It's super beautiful. All right,
And
my
it's
love. Well, I could talk to you forever, I'm sure. So yeah, I mean, I'll just paste some of this together and we'll just call it a podcast. But I'm so honored to share space with you.
well, I'm honored to hear your story and your journey and to just visit with you. I like to call it in council, where we come and sit, and all of our beloved council members come and sit around. And I remember watching just a beautiful interview between the Dalai Lama and some Jewish rabbi. And whether or not you like the Dalai Lama or a Jewish rabbi, they're sitting and then they stop and listen, and the Dalai Lama goes, "I wonder what they're talking about." And it's just like, oh, they're guides. They're having a big chat. And it's like, oh, yeah, they conspire to get us together so they can just have a chat.
Yeah, our guides are like, oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yay! Woohoo! Finally! Yay!
Woo. All right, sweetie. Well, keep in touch and many blessings to you.
Many blessings to you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to fly off. I have to.
Bye
Oh my
off.
goodness. This
Have a,
is it. This is what people go through. They have to hit the leave button. Okay,
I know
cool.
you have to, yeah. You have to
Okay.
leave. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.